Trump is actively trying to purge museums of Black history and whitewash America's history by calling our museums too woke.
Well, we want the museums to treat our country fairly. We want the museums to talk about the history of our country in a fair manner, not in a woke manner or in a racist manner, which is what many of them, not all of them, but many of them are doing. Our museums have an obligation to represent what happened in our country over the years, good and bad, but what happened over the years in an accurate way.
Black American history is barely taught in America as it stands now. There's no universal curriculum in this country to explain the history of what it means to be Black in America and our Black experience. We learn our history from our parents, our grandparents, our elders, and our community, and that's how we've always learned our history. An abridged version of what most people in this country learn is that slavery was bad. Slaves were brought from Africa. They worked on plantations, mainly cotton and tobacco. Lincoln ended slavery, then cut to Martin Luther King and civil rights, and then we've been free. But that is not how history works, right? Our history is omitted from curriculum and omitted from the mainstream society because that would have to mean that America would admit its portion in systematically oppressing us today. Slavery lasted for 246 years, from 1619 until 1865. And then for 89 years after 1865, we lived under one of the worst apartheid systems in the modern world, where Jim Crow run rampant. In 1954, we got the civil rights era starting, and when we had our leaders fight for our rights to vote, fight for our rights to have fair and free housing. But we were still, the systems in place were already unilaterally spread throughout this country, meaning Black people couldn't do many things. And we had to fight for the next 30 to 40, 50 years, even today, to get access to certain things. But because this isn't taught, and the history and the gruesomeness of that slavery, where we have men raping women at their beck and call, and then stealing those babies from those mothers, and then raping them again and getting them pregnant. Black people were sent to breeding farms, mainly in Virginia, to breed with each other because the strongest slave would breed another strong slave, whether they were family or not. That's where the term motherfucker comes from. The more you know. Lynching people, people bringing their babies to come watch lynchings, antagonizing Black people, terrorizing Black people, eating Black people. There's so many things that happen in America with white people against Black people. And the fact that they're trying to spin this new era of, well, not everybody owned a slave, white people aren't evil, it's always white people bad, Black people good. And that's not the case. The case is, if we don't teach our history the correct way, why would anyone listen to my experience as a Black person? And it's already being challenged. You know, it's every time I put up a video about the Black experience or Black history, people can throw out racist comments very quickly to me. And I'm like, why do you think it's so easy for you to be racist when my experience is exhausting? It is exhausting being Black and have to stand 10 toes down for my history and my culture. Because if it's not us to teach it, they'll wipe it from the history books here. And that's what they're trying to do.
I have a question. When did we arrive to the point where the discussion and displaying of the history of slavery became woke? Slavery is the original sin of the United States of America. And no matter what Donald Trump attempts to do to erase that history, it is a stain that will forever be on the garment of this nation. This country was built, founded on the backs of African Americans, of slaves that were forcefully brought here against their will, families ripped apart. And the sitting president of the United States says that the African American Museum here in DC, its depiction of the African American experience is unfair. To who? That would be my question. Who is it unfair to? Your ancestors who inflicted this pain on mine? I'm so sick and tired of this.
Oh yeah guys, welcome back to the channel. Before we move further, let's get to this. Black people didn't hold back after Donald Trump called Black history too woke and also pushed to remove slavery from the school history books. Guys, this sparked outrage as many see it as an attempt to erase the truth about America's past. So guys, in this video here, we are diving into Trump's controversial remarks, the backlash from black communities, and why the erasure of slavery and systemic racism from history is so dangerous. Black Americans are making it clear that their history is not up for debate or deletion. Guys, let's continue watching these voices from across the country responding to Trump's comments and explaining why telling the full truth of history matters for future generations. Guys, what do you think about Trump's attempt to rewrite history? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be back. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I just think this CBS commercial that Donald Trump replaced with the PBS commercial or the show that Donald Trump replaced our OG shows with, and it is talking about how slavery wasn't a big thing and slavery was everywhere, and isn't it better to be a slave than to be killed? A lot of people kill themselves to not be a slave. I don't know what the fuck, like, y'all, they're trying to erase history in our face. But if you are a history person, please get on here talking about the history of slavery right now. Because I definitely remember slaves were jumping off ships on the way to the America because they did not want to be a fucking slave. They were killing themselves, okay? That's why the Bermuda Triangle is the way that it is. It got spirits in that water. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, you know what I'm saying? I don't understand this. I don't understand racist people. I do not understand bigot people. I do not understand people who spew hate to other races. Because me personally, I don't care. I don't spew hate to no race. But the fact that there is a bunch of white Mexican people and Hispanic people who sit up here and talk and trash black people to the point where they voted for Trump and their own family members are being deported. Like, racism is so deep, and the fact that this is out about slavery is so scary because a lot of kids will watch this and believe that that is true about slavery. It's not. People killed themselves to not be slaves. People rather die than be slaves.
I don't pay attention to things I don't like.
Why is Donald Trump being so pressed to remove woke artifacts from these museums? What you're witnessing is a man moving out of fear.
Why do white people pay so much attention to black people?
Those woke artifacts, they point directly to who the real Israelites are of today. And they're going to do everything they can do to try to hide that.
A liar knows what lie he told. You see what I'm saying? So even if I made it deceitful and I made you think that the answer is over here, but the answer is really over here, I'm still going to be looking over here. Me, the one that tricked, because I know this is the right answer. Black people have lost their identity, but our oppressors have not lost our identity.
They fear the Black Messiah. They fear us knowing who we are, waking up and getting our position back. It's the same way they did when they tried to kill Christ as a baby. Like, same thing. History repeats itself over and over again. They can hide artifacts, erase stories, even try to rewrite the past. But they can't stop what God set in motion. What God said will be is going to always be. So when Donald Trump says he's fighting against woke history, no. He's really fighting against Bible prophecy. And please believe them arms is too short to box with God.
As a person who has studied African American history, both on a personal level because of the stories that have been handed down to me by my parents and my grandparents, who was handed to them by their great-grandparents, and as a person who has read and who has visited the monuments and the museums and heard the oral traditions and the stories, who has looked at the accounts of white enslavers, everything that the common person knows about slavery is a sanitization of how bad slavery in America actually was. To be clear, American chattel slavery is the single most barbaric experience that any group of people have been put through in our recorded history as humans. And it is an extension of the reality that Europeans raped and pillaged their way through the New World in order to conquer it. They are the villains of every indigenous people's story, because no one has ever brought more violence or crime or disease than Europeans trying to manifest destiny their way through the world. Which is why this post from the president is particularly insidious, because the whole idea of museums talking about how horrible the country is or how bad slavery was, as if it wasn't, as if we're lying. But that is the white supremacist talking point, that we've been lying, that white folks were actually nice enslavers, and that those who were enslaved actually enjoyed it. He wants to replace that with being the hottest country in the world, or he wants to replace it with lying about who America has been and the byproduct to this day. Because to be clear, slavery is the single most impactful thing that most Americans are experiencing to this day. Trump's lawyers can go to these museums and sanitize all they want. We know the truth, and those of us who know the truth will continue to tell the truth, no matter how much they white lie.
Oh yeah, guys, Donald Trump has done it again. This time he said black history is too woke, and even suggested removing slavery from America's history books. Yes, you heard that right, and black people are not holding back in response. Let's be clear, when Trump says black history is too woke, what he is really saying is that the truth about America's past makes certain people uncomfortable. The brutality of slavery, Jim Crow, segregation, lynchings, and systemic racism are not woke. They are facts. They are history. Trying to erase slavery from school textbooks is not about protecting children. It's about protecting a false image of America. If you take slavery out of history, you erase the suffering of millions of African people who were enslaved. You erase the resilience and the fight of black Americans who built America from the ground up while enduring unimaginable oppression. And that's exactly why black people are outraged, because black people know that if they don't control their own narrative, others will erase it. This is not just about the past, it's about the future. If young generations are denied the truth, they'll grow up not understanding how deep racism runs and why we are still fighting for equality today. So when Trump says black history is too woke, what he's really saying is, I don't want America to face the truth. But here's the problem. Truth doesn't go away. Black history is American history. You can't try to erase it. You can't try to rewrite it. But you can't silence millions of people who live with the legacy of slavery and systemic racism every single day. This is why we must continue to tell our stories, teach our children, and demand the full truth be taught in schools, and the museum should not be demolished. Because the moment we stop speaking up is the moment they win. What do you think, guys? Should slavery and the reality of black history be left out of schools? Or should America finally face the truth? Drop your thoughts, guys, in the comments. Of course, all credit belongs to the original creators of the video. This video is meant for educational purposes and commentary purposes as well. Thank you so much. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for real conversations like this. Thank you so much and have a nice time. Be blessed.